Hello and welcome to Won't Be Forgetting That, a podcast talking about all of the most awkward and embarrassing moments people have had whilst working in the arts and entertainment industry. I'm your podcast host, Seb Muirhead, and today we have a guest. They are a comedian, a writer, an actor, Oliver Coleman.
Hello, it's me, Oliver Coleman.
Oh, what an official introduction as well. I don't know if anyone's so official. Thank you, Oliver.
I like to keep it serious and professional.
Yeah, sorry, this is a very serious podcast. We'll have none of this fun, none of this comedy on here.
No, thank you. No comedy for me.
All right, a very dry 1 hour just of talking about. Well, I mean, we're a couple of middle-aged white guys. What do you want to talk about?
Let's just read a transcript of the Joe Rogan podcast.
I was actually going to go to my Joe Rogan jokes as well, but I'll find another problematic white man. Who else we got? Andrew Tate.
Yeah, I love all these guys.
Yeah, so
you do too, right? That's why
we're here.
That's why I agreed to do it.
I also don't know why my voice broke there as well. How anti-alpha male.
Yeah,
I should take more of my supplements.
Gross. You big wuss.
Fuck. How? I'm trying to think of other things that they say. This is a terrible start to any podcast.
Andrew Tate is saying wuss all the time.
He is a guy. He says wuss. We're both sitting here just now. We're both currently bearded, bald-headed, and wearing sunglasses.
Exactly right.
Yeah, and I've got a couple of steaks just sitting out there as well.
Yum. I love a nice big piece of flesh.
Big meat, a big bit of meat for me.
Yum.
So this is a very bizarre start to the podcast. I don't think I've ever been off on this much of a tangent.
Sorry.
No, I love it. I love, again, Joe Rogan, Andrew Tate, any other horrible person.
I like the little post-it note that you've got on your ring light over there with the kind of the flat mouth emoji.
I am for a little peek behind the curtain for all you beautiful perverts listening. A little ring light that I used to self-tape. I actually had a little audition yesterday that I needed to have an eyeline for. So I stuck a very plain face to it because my reader was online, so I didn't have a person in the room. Yeah. And I stuck a little post-it note there. Oh God, the podcast dog has broken in
the dog's
already.
In.
This is usually
does Elsie break in a lot to the podcast?
Every single episode. Yeah, she'll come in, cause an absolute ruckus. She's going to knock over a microphone in a second.
Beautiful.
We'll have to kick her out. She'll maybe break back in towards the end again. And
Fantastic.
She'll otherwise go and dig up the garden.
But this is like a trained thing that she does.
Well, I mean, trained in the respects we can't train it out of her. So yes.
Yeah, okay.
But we're going to have to maybe take... This might be the earliest break I've ever had to take on the podcast to kick the podcast dog out as well. Do you want to go out? It's okay. Oh, right. We'll be right back, everyone. God.
Bye.
3 minutes in already. Come on.
There we go. Do you think we'll edit that bit out? No, we'll keep it in.
If you're still talking, we'll keep it in.
I'm still talking.
All right. Well, I can't edit that out now as well. Okay, right. Well, podcast dog has successfully been kicked out of the room as well. And I know I don't want to do this every episode, but it's only because she is such an absolute nightmare to have whilst we're trying to record.
Yeah.
If she was a well-behaved dog,
she'd be allowed
to have a little nap on the couch. She'd be able to sit down quietly, but she's not. She's an absolute nightmare.
And you've got Barack Obama's autobiography on your desk. Have you read it? Or is that to prop up?
That's my partner's desk. My desk is this one here with a load of crap on it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Oliver, you're really exposing me here. I don't think I've had anyone comment on the room so much. We're podcasting in my very professional podcast studio / office space / spare bedroom / storage space.
Yeah.
So you've really exposed me for how unprofessional I am as well. I can see you looking around the room just now as well and other things to comment on.
Isn't the best part about going to someone's house just looking at their stuff?
I do love that. And I love on podcasts when people describe purely
my favorite
things as well.
You know what I'd like to... My favorite thing to do when I walk into someone's house is open the fridge and look in their fridge and see what type of food person they have.
We can actually record a little bit afterwards if you want. You can have a look at my fridge if you want. It's
we can do
pretty bare just now because I'm going food shopping tonight.
Oh, well,
yeah.
I think we should take the mics food shopping and do like a live podcast.
Like a POV, watch me walk around Coles.
Yeah, and I'll just comment on everything
on my spending.
Yep.
Oh, you're buying the non-name brand stuff. Someone's doing all right for themselves.
Ooh.
And obviously, I'm not endorsing Coles here as well. Fuck Coles and Woolies. unless you want to pay for me to be in an advert for you, then I love you. So I usually like to start off this podcast with a little bit of a compliment. Because, is that okay? I myself am not very good with compliments, so I like to make my podcast guests obviously uncomfortable with giving them a compliment.
Okay.
Yeah, is that okay? Am I allowed to?
I mean, I feel like I have to because you said
to.
that's the way that you usually
I was gonna go for it either way.
I could leave the room whilst you give the compliment and then just come back in.
And then when you get
not having heard it.
And then see how you react to it.
Yeah, see if it changes the atmosphere in the room.
I reckon it's going to change the atmosphere regardless. But for better or worse, we shall find out.
Okay.
So I was obviously going to give you a compliment on your comedy, which I feel like that's too easy to do. So
Have you seen it?
I've seen parts of it, yeah. Yeah. So I was going to say that, but maybe I'm going to go with how fucking sharp dressed you were for your most recent comedy run. I have not seen anyone look that good on stage. Maybe since other friend of the show, Oliver, also.
The other OC in the Melbourne comedy.
I know, right? Oliver Clark. He's also a very sharp dressed man, but you two might be rivaling each other. But that veneer green suit. I don't know if veneer is the right word. I don't even know what veneer means, if I'm being honest with you. Velveteen?
No, veneer, that's for a tooth.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I know, veneer, I don't know what it means either.
No, it's all right. Well, I got that wrong.
The sheen. The green suit. It was a good suit, wasn't it?
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
I just lucked into it. My ex-housemate, Angus, we both moved out of that house, and he was like, I've got this suit. Do you want it? And I said, yes. And so he just gave it to me, and luckily it fitted very well. I had to get the pants taken out a wee bit.
Oh, okay.
But, I think he got it at the op shop for like $15 once, however many years ago, and he'd worn it once in that time. So, oh
my God.
And he just gave it to me.
See, people say they find stuff like that at the op shops all the time. I think one of the last things I bought from the op shops was a pair of pants that I quite liked, but then they had a massive hole in the crotch, and I felt bad about returning them to the op shop, so I just threw them away because they were unfixable.
There we go.
Yeah, so all these things, people finding all this nice stuff in op shops.
Yeah, I don't think it happens. It's never happened. I've never found anything that nice.
And I'm not calling out your ex flatmate Angus, although I kind of am here.
Yeah, I'm
just saying.
I think he lied.
Are they a liar?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think he paid thousands for it.
Just too embarrassed to wear it.
Yeah, it would have been awkward if he gave me a suit worth thousands of dollars. So
have we just uncovered Angus? Is this a true crime podcast now?
Maybe he's cashed up. Maybe he's cashed up. This guy doesn't want to admit.
Well, if he was renting in Melbourne, he'd have to be.
Yes. True. It is an expensive rental market.
I feel like we've gone through all the spectrum of podcasts just now. We've gone through toxic masculinity.
Yeah, we could do one about property markets now.
So what are your expectations for the property market to do?
I'm a landlord myself. I own between 10 and 15 properties all around Melbourne.
I have heard you described as a scumlord sometimes because you will not fix up those investment properties.
I actually own. I didn't want to admit it, but I own your house actually as well, where you're renting.
Oh God, can I get
this
that?
This is just a low key inspection.
Oh wow, nice. You're more than welcome to give feedback on the podcast, but I'd prefer if we kept that, between the real estate agent and if you give me a heads up next time as well, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, okay. All right. Got me.
Thank you for overcharging me. Now, I don't know if you've come in with any prepared stories for the podcast or not. I usually have my go-to questions as far as acting and comedy goes as well, or if you have any groupings of stories that you want to put together. I usually ask if we can keep the most salacious one till the end too, to keep all of these people listening until the end so they don't just tune out after all of our fantastic financial advice.
Yeah.
But do you have any particular way you want to tell the stories? Otherwise, I'm going to launch into a few questions about the old acting and comedy scene.
You just launch into questions and
beautiful.
I'll see what it provokes in
as an
my mind.
Actor yourself as well, I would be remiss not to ask about TV commercial auditions because they are consistently the worst fucking thing in the world.
Yeah, they are the worst thing in the world, aren't they? I've auditioned for hundreds of TV ads in my time.
How many have you got? Don't have to answer.
Zero.
Yeah, no, it's great,
I've never gotten one in my whole life.
Don't you love it? The strike rate is insane. Oh, bless you as well. They're allergic to remembering all these TV commercials.
Yeah, I don't know what... I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine as an actor.
Yeah.
But what
do they want?
What am I doing wrong? My friend Stu gets them all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How dare they, for a start?
Yeah.
And also, I feel like all they need to do is just look at your headshot, and then it's like, yes or no.
Yeah,
I don't need to
go
pretend to
in.
have a bath. I don't need to sword fight with a pen. I don't need to throw bagels around the room. All things I have done in the room before as well, by the way. These aren't just made up examples.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why humiliate me for 5 minutes?
I know, they make you walk, like, do these complicated walks through, like, imaginary worlds.
Yeah.
And here you walk through Antarctica, and then you got to hide behind the couch and hand the remote to a child.
Exactly. And guess what? None of that's in the room when you're doing it.
None of it. Yeah,
No.
yeah, it's just entirely made up. I don't know what. Sometimes the casting briefs are kind of humiliating in and of themselves. You like read the character description. and
Have you
it's
been sent through
embarrassing.
any interesting character descriptions
Well,
where you're like, I never saw myself as that, but okay.
I did have one that I remember not long ago that just said, looks like Jake Gyllenhaal, but not as good looking.
Look, that's not a bad thing, okay? I mean, nobody's Jake Gyllenhaal. Jake Gyllenhaal
If
is...
I'm in the if I'm even in the car
Yes.
park of the ballpark of Jake Gyllenhaal,
If you've
we're
been
doing
mentioned
okay.
in passing with his name, that's
Yeah.
a win in my... Like,
Well,
that
I
man
didn't
is
get the role, so maybe I'm
too good looking.
either too good looking or even worse looking than that.
But again, even worse looking and it's not quite as good looking as Jake Gyllenhaal, I feel like, again, still a compliment. Like, if you're put forward for that, that's a good thing, right?
something, yeah.
Jake
I'll take
Gyllenhaal,
it.
disgustingly attractive man. Like, I watch his films sometimes and I'm like, oh, you fuck, this is a terrible film, but I've only watched it because of you.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's a compliment. It's sometimes when they're like, a boringly forgettable man, or you're like, just an average dad. And I'm like, I'm not even a dad. How can I be an average dad?
Yeah. I feel like, in terms of like how I look,
Yeah.
in terms of acting, I just look average.
I think I have the same problem as well. Just like in a
Like,
video
it's not
game,
a unique enough face
Yeah.
to look like a character or strange.
it's
It's
a preset video game character before you make all of the changes, which I think works for ads, right? Isn't that what they want?
I think they want more like identifiable characters, like a memorable, quirky face.
yeah.
Or someone who's like just pristinely good looking.
Oh yeah, where you're like, wow, I can understand why they're selling Cartier.
Yeah.
That's not me,
Exactly.
but yeah, I can understand why they have those people.
Yeah.
But then you still get asked to do the auditions all the time as well.
Yeah, just they should just know who they want.
I know, right? Come on, guys. Do you have any auditions that particularly stick out in your mind?
From those ad
It can be ads, or we can go into full just regular acting as well. Because I find auditions are the ones where you're like, you go in with such a mixed emotion of being like, I'm trying to be cool and relaxed, but also I'm kind of desperate for work. It's not a sexy thing to say, but like, I really fucking need the work.
I'll take anything that
Yeah.
anyone gets. I feel like if you're like one of those really good looking people,
Oh, then you can turn up and not give a shit. And
Yeah.
like, I respect that.
but then you got to feel really crap if you're still not getting work.
Well, maybe you missed out to the quirky person in that case then.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, okay, the quirky person, I can see why they got it.
Yeah.
We didn't-
Well, actually, I mean, in terms of like getting work,
Yeah.
one time I think the last TV role I had, I think I was cast by mistake.
I mean, congrats.
Maybe, yeah. It was. I had to play. It was like a 1-day shoot, and I had to play like the sexy lover of the lead woman or something, but just like a one-off fling. Like,
Yeah,
we just
nice.
Had to do like one.
That's not bad.
One sex scene, and that was it.
And then done, out of there.
And then out of there. And as part of the audition, I had to send through like a photo without a shirt on, so they could see my chest and stuff.
How awkward is that, right?
That's awkward. That's humiliating.
It's also just out there now. Presumably saved to a hard drive somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere is looking at my chest, and I don't have like a movie star body. I have a standard body with just like little kind of flabby strawberry breasts and just like a tiny little tummy.
Well,
Just like,
that's what they wanted, Oliver. Stop talking yourself down.
I don't think it's what they wanted because
Oh.
the character description said like hunk, good body,
really?
sexy, like all these things. So I sent through the photo. I was like, I'm not going to get this.
Yeah.
And then I got it. And
Wow.
on the day where we're shooting this thing, which was an embarrassing experience in and of itself.
Well, I'm very excited to hear about that.
We started off and I was like, had my shirt off.
Yep.
And we did like one take and my shirt was like wearing like a dress shirt, but it was down around my waist and had we were doing like this dry humping.
Oh,
I suppose you would call it. And then after like one take, I saw the director and the producer or something, like looking at the little monitor, kind of watching the playback, having like a little discussion amongst themselves with these like confused looks on their faces.
Oh.
As in, like, is this right? I was like, I don't know what they were saying. But then after the first take, the director came up and was like, actually, we're going to do it with the shirt on.
Fuck! You got the photo of me topless before the shoot.
Yeah.
You have to do this to me.
So I don't know if they thought that maybe they got the topless photos mixed up and they thought I had a better body than I did.
I'm going to presume you had your face attached to the topless photos as well.
Yeah, actually I did.
Yeah.
I did. So I don't know.
You didn't just catfish them and send through like Chris Hemsworth's
body. I mean, that's what I'll do in future.
I mean, how long have you got? Yeah. How many steroids can we afford on this budget, guys? Come on, we've got to think outside the box.
I want to get buff. Yeah, so I mean, that was I suppose that was an embarrassing.
That's also just one of those things where you're like, you know what I look like. You can have this discussion before we do this, and it actually saves me a lot of mental health as well.
Yeah, I don't need to
see you guys whispering and then put my clothes back on.
Exactly.
Can you say what the TV show was?
It was a Secret Bridesmaids business.
Oh, okay.
I think it was like a mini series. I've never actually watched.
So you don't know if the topless or the top on cut made it?
I don't think it did. I think they cut most of I think I went to try and watch my bit and they cut a lot of it.
Yeah, isn't that great? I love that. My first ever TV job in Australia, I was so excited and I was like, hey guys, I'm on the episode. It was Offspring. I'm on this episode of Offspring tonight. And then everyone watched it and like, were you in it? Was it that episode? And I was like, oh yeah, they just cut me out. Did you watch the credits? I was in the credits.
God damn.
Yeah, so it's like... It's as bit parters, we get cut out.
It happens.
Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that phase that they cut me out.
Depending as well what they've shown of you too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, maybe this is a blessing in disguise.
Exactly. But I mean, that was a weird experience anyway, because I'd never done like a sex scene or anything before.
Was this during the time of Intimacy Coordinators?
Nah, it would have. I don't know when it was. I reckon it was like just prior to that. It was
nice.
like
so the Wild
2018
West.
or something.
Sick.
2019.
Oh God, have you worked with Intimacy Coordinators since then?
No, I haven't got a new job.
Yet.
So
if anyone's listening, I don't know. I presume ABC, Netflix. If you're listening, Channel 9,
have me.
Tubi.
Yeah.
Reach out to Oliver. He will do topless scenes for you.
It was so funny because it was like they just gave it was like the last shot of the day as well.
Oh, great.
And so everyone was rushing before they like got into overtime. Everyone was grumpy and in a bad mood, and there was absolutely like no blocking or like step through of it at all. They were more or less just like go for it. And thank God there was this other guy. There was this guy on set who was he was a stunt guy.
Oh, nice.
And he was like, "Oh, have you done this sort of thing before?" And I was like, "No, man, I don't know what I'm doing."
You don't see how scared and sweaty I am. This is terrifying.
And he was like, "Well, he gave me some pointers." He was like, "Okay, just like it was like on a footstool, so it was just hump the footstool, so you're not." Humping her,
this poor stranger.
This poor stranger, and like the actress who was playing the person, I think she had just like it was a crappy shoot, and it just had like the worst time. I had to do like 5 sex scenes or something in a week in a row.
Wow,
with like all different people. So by the time it got to me, she was like, "Yeah, my character has this trait where they have sex with people, but they just don't ever kiss them."
Look, fair enough.
And I was like, "Yeah, sure, let's not."
Whatever gets you through these kind of shoots, honestly, especially the ones which are like, and whatever you were saying about it, maybe not the best shoot as well.
Yeah.
Just do whatever fucking saves you at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think Secret Bridesmaids, whatever, is worth doing it for.
I don't think it's coming back either.
No, I don't think you're winning any daytime Emmys.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever it is, Logies in Australia.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, hopefully things have changed now. Intimacy coordinators and that sort of thing.
They're starting
have
to
you
get
worked
a lot
with
better.
them before?
A few times, yeah. I most recently shot something for the ABC with Michaela Banis, who's fucking fantastic, honestly. So I think that's coming out in a month or so time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but that's great. It's just nice being treated like a human being, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time with that kind of stuff, you're like, no, you two, just do it, and then we'll record it. And you're like, wow, I don't really know how to broach this subject with my partner on camera, and like, what's okay to do, and
Yeah,
this is just
exactly.
fucking weird regardless.
And then like there's like time pressures and
Yeah.
there's 20 or 30 people around.
And I can hear them whispering about me when I take my top off. How fucking dare they? And then usually the guys, they're like, no, the women need looked after. Guys, fuck you. You're fine.
Yeah, I know, but it's like,
They're like,
we're going to figure this out
I'm
together.
like, I'm still a person.
Yeah.
Or like, preferably being treated like one would be nice as well.
Totally, yeah.
But I don't know. Being an actor, sometimes you're like, maybe I'm not human actually.
I think, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
half the time you're not.
Well, yeah, that's a problem, isn't it? And then the other half of the time you're working as a barista.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's even like that with like talking about like auditions and stuff for ads. It's like always wild, or anything. It's always wild to me, the turnaround
Yeah.
that they expect. I'm like, why does it seem that like the actors were the last thing that you needed to organise in this
does
process?
seem like
why,
that.
Why am I getting this audition the day before?
I've had this a couple of times recently for very large projects. They're
Yeah.
like, we need this tomorrow. And I'm like, this is a multi-million-dollar project. Surely you knew you needed to cast this. They're in the script.
Yeah.
Why am I getting this like with 24-hour turnaround?
It's wild.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, of course I'm just going to drop everything then
Yeah, I know.
for a part I'm not going to get.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it when an audition comes in.
Yeah.
Because it's like I've planned out my days.
And
I know what I'm doing, and then all of a sudden you get an audition. You're like,
Oh, great. Now I need to find a costume for a doctor. I need to practice an accent, and I need to
I
learn
got
some
to track
medical
down a
jargon.
friend to do a self tape.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
and it's even more of a pain in the ass now that it's all
Self-tapes.
and it's like
Because before you just go into the room and you just 5 minutes, you'd make an arse of yourself and you'd be done with.
Yeah.
Now you do a million takes in your own home setup with a dog bursting into the room,
Yeah.
and you're having to track down somebody to read with you online, and Zoom shits the bed, and you're like,
Yeah.
well, of course this is all awful. What do you want from me?
Yeah, exactly.
And especially when you're trying to like sell yourself or personality, I just seem so
Yeah, and you don't
desperate
get
all
any
the time.
direction. You're like, if I had that piece of direction when I was doing the self tape, I could have
You're like, oh fuck.
actually known what you wanted.
And especially for some of the bigger projects, because they're like under lock and key, they're like, we can't give you any information. I'm like, not even just like who my character is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like, what's the context of this scene?
Yeah, what's
Like-
going on?
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that as well. So I'm offer only now for anyone listening. So if you could just send me through any. Again, Netflix, Tubi, if you're listening, send Oliver through those topless ones. I'll take anything as long as it's offer only.
Yes, please. And I will do anything as long as nudity is involved.
Classic actors. Again, why a lot of people, I think, get into this industry. And yeah, we just had Nick Robertson on as well. Fantastic photographer as well as comedian. But yeah, also I think the reason why a lot of people get into photography too, unfortunately. A lot of fucking creeps out there.
There are a lot of creepy photographers.
Yes. You got any stories about that?
Yeah, I got some big ones about Nick Robertson.
Oh no!
What a dirty creep. No, he's really nice.
I believe he would describe
Nick.
self-described nice boy.
Nick.
Yeah.
Well, the self-described nice boys are the ones you have to look out for.
That's what I was. Real red flags here. Nick, if you are listening, I do love you. But I just say everyone look past his nice exterior.
Yeah, I'm a self-described bad boy.
Now I have to ask: is that boy B-O-Y or B-O-I?
I'm BOGHJEI. It's like the Irish spelling.
Is it? Wow. Well, as someone that's never been to Ireland myself before, I cannot.
You've never
confirm
been to
or
Ireland?
No, never.
And you lived next door.
I
for
literally lived
years.
across the pond, but I just resented them. Like anybody in Britain, you resent your neighbours.
Yeah, where'd you live in Scotland?
So I lived in Edinburgh for the most part. I went to acting school there, performed in the illustrious Edinburgh Fringe.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, very privileged because I lived there and performed in it at the same time. Opposed to all you Australians that have to go over and lose your life savings to sell out a shed sometimes.
It's difficult. Or not even sell out a shed.
Well,
Play to two people in a shed.
yeah. Which is, I feel like, life-alteringly sad sometimes. Yeah. Have you done Edinburgh Fringe before?
Yeah, I lived in Scotland for a couple of years.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I lived in Glasgow, though, not Edinburgh.
That's okay. Glasgow's acceptable. If it was
Glasgow's-
Aberdeen, we'd have to finish this podcast
Yeah, I don't
right
think
now.
I would have survived the 2 years if I lived in Aberdeen.
Well, also, I don't know why anybody would live there anyway.
No, I don't think I actually ever went to Aberdeen when I lived there, which is a shame. Apparently, they've got huge seagulls.
Do they?
Yeah.
Bigger than Glasgow and Edinburgh.
Bigger than Glasgow and Edinburgh.
Okay, I kind of want to go to
Actually, the
Aberdeen
goals
now.
are they're big across the board in Scotland.
They're
aren't they?
fucking massive.
They're intimidating.
They're like the size of cats. And I know people are like, oh, that's a funny joke. They're genuinely huge.
They're enormous.
These Australian seagulls.
And there's so many
Pathetic.
chips around everywhere. For
Well,
them
they've
to
just
eat.
been mutated off of deep fried chips and
Yeah,
deep fried
exactly.
pizzas and deep fried kebabs.
Ooh, pizza crunch.
Oh, yes. So you've had a deep fried pizza as well.
I've had a deep fried pizza.
I've spoken to so many people about this, and they're always like, what the fuck are you talking about, deep fried pizza? I was like, I used to have that for lunch almost
it's like
every
a
day at
frozen
school.
pizza, deep
Fried.
batter.
And then I know you were living in Glasgow, so
I thought
a
it was
bit
just a
different.
Glasgow thing.
Nah.
Pizza crunch is a Scottish thing. across the board.
Scotland.
Yeah.
Sorry, I am English is my
Do
second
you like
language.
chip sauce? That was the Edinburgh
Chippy
thing.
sauce, yeah. So this is the thing. Anyone that's not from Scotland wouldn't understand this, but it's salt and sauce versus salt and vinegar in Glasgow. So salt and sauce is Edinburgh, salt and vinegar is Glasgow.
And the sauce is, okay, if I'm wrong, it's
Yeah.
like brown sauce, like HP sauce,
Yep.
watered down with vinegar.
with malt vinegar.
So it's
Yeah.
like even more sour
Acidic.
or acidic
Yeah.
brown sauce.
But it is the best thing to have on chips ever. I don't know if it's one of those things because I grew up with it, so it's like I love this, but I fucking loved it. And then if you give it to anyone else, you tell anyone else about it, it's much of how like you just reacted to it. They're like, "The fuck are you talking about?" It's like a really sour brown sauce. I was like, "Yeah, but it's perfect."
Yeah. Did I like it? It's okay.
Yeah, see, again, it's one of those things I think you need to grow up on, huh? Like,
Yeah.
everyone over here is like, chicken salt's the best, and I was like,
Yeah. I miss curry. I miss the curry
the curry sauce.
Chips and curry is great.
Oh, if
Like
you want
that
to
weird fluorescent.
have heartburn
hot
and not
curry.
shit for 2 days, the best stuff.
It's delicious.
That's all you have for dinner as well. It's just
Yeah.
a big box of chips and curry sauce.
sauce.
And then no water. You never drink water in Scotland. It's always what we call juice, which is what everyone else calls
It's wild to me
yeah.
that they call soda juice.
Yeah.
They're like, "Do you want some juice?" They just hand you a Coke.
Yeah. I love it. It's something I think we need to bring back. It's also probably why we all die at about 63 because we've
Yeah.
never drank water. We only drink juice.
Juice, yeah.
And even like we don't have fruit juice really that much anyway. Maybe Sunny Delight's the
There's,
closest thing.
Yeah, or squash.
Squash, that's true actually.
Yeah.
Like a Ribena if you're really fancy. Otherwise, it's just Tesco's own brand
Yeah,
blackcurrant
exactly.
juice. But yeah, there's a reason why we're all so unhappy and greasy as well. I think is probably the best way of putting it.
Greasy, beautiful stuff.
We're all just stout people, all stout, greasy people.
Yeah, exactly.
That never get outside because it's always so fucking cold.
Cold and miserable.
I should probably move on from insulting my homeland and my home people as well back into the podcast. Did you have any other memorable experiences from acting? Otherwise, I'm so happy to get into the stand-up comedy world as
I don't have
well.
any more. I mean, acting. I mean, all the hats off to you for doing it because I went to acting school.
Oh,
and
nice.
That was my original.
Whereabouts?
I went to VCA. Here in
Oh,
Melbourne.
it's such a fancy boy.
Fancy boy.
And that's spelled BOYGHEHEI.
Fancy boy.
There's an accent there. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I did. Yeah, we did accents in year 2.
Oh, beautiful. I helped somebody once with their accent in a VCA year 2.
Oh, nice.
And let's just say they didn't put their homework in. And it was...
Did you grow up in Edinburgh? Is it your accent?
So
Edinburgh?
yes, so I'm just below Edinburgh, East Lothian.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I've also kind of changed my accent so people in this country, Australia,
Can understand you.
can fucking understand me. Yeah. So it's a little bit more. I don't know what it is now anymore, to be honest with you. But
Yeah.
it's not your Glaswegian accent.
I got used to the Glaswegian accent. Sometimes it was.
It's like a chippy sauce, I think. It's a really acquired taste.
Yeah, like there was one time I did like a trial in a burger restaurant.
Oh yeah.
Like just as a waiter, and like the chefs were these like hard Glaswegian men, and because it was like every burger was like a fried chicken burger.
Yeah.
So they all looked exactly the same, but just with a slightly different sauce. So I
Yeah.
didn't know what any of them were. So every time the chef would hand me a burger, he'd be like, I said, put you in your hand," and I'd be like, "Okay," and I wouldn't know what it was, and then I'd just go give it to random customers.
I don't know what table this is for. I don't know if this is meat or vegetables.
And the chefs were these terrifying.
Oh, like in a Glaswegian accent, even if they're being kind to you, I'm gonna get fucking stabbed, right? Which also in Glasgow is very possible too.
It's very possible.
Yeah, so I can understand the problems there, and like what you were saying, every burger is just cased in batter and deep fried as well.
There's another difference.
You don't know what's inside it.
Exactly.
A little surprise burger for you.
Yeah,
I do quite miss them as well, though.
Ah,
like I'm 35 now. I think if I ate one of them now, I might die.
yeah, there's a limit. I mean, yeah, you can do Pizza Crunch every day in your early 20s.
Exactly. When you're 15.
Yeah.
You subside off that. And then you come to Australia and you're like, oh, there's vegetables and sunshine. And now I'll have like something deep fried and I'm like, oh, I need a little lie down and a gastro plus.
Yeah. But hats off to you being an actor. Like I found it hard.
I think VCA is obviously a beautiful school, but like acting school in general is a real good way of like humiliating you, but then also thinking that's an acceptable way to be around other people too. Because I don't know how much stuff that you did, but you do the most fuck stuff in acting school where you're like breath work and you're crawling around like a baby or an animal, and then you're like, oh, I kind of forgot how to just act like a regular person. And now I don't know how to play a waiter on telly for 4 lines.
Yeah. You're just like pretending to be the color purple.
Yeah.
You've never actually.
Or you're like, I could give you a 5-minute walkthrough of my like lifespan if you wanted, and I could play a really good old person. But no, I don't know how to play like a bus driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is exactly. I mean, it's great. It was great. It's so liberating, and it's nice being consumed by it for like 3 years. You come out at the end and I'm still not entirely sure what I got out of it.
Well, I think out of VCA, it's the same as NIDA or WAPA.
Yeah.
You get people going, oh, nice, when you tell them you went there. I think that's the big thing.
Yeah,
the big
takeaway. That lasts about 30 seconds in the industry.
Yeah.
And then there's like... I mean, there's like whatever there from the 3 top drama schools, which are only the top drama schools. You know, there's whatever 60, 70 new actors coming out every year.
Oh, for sure.
That's too many actors.
12 roles in the entirety of Australia, and then you're like, oh, okay. Guess I should retrain into something else as well then. But then try and keep the acting job alive. But then also at the same time, I got a lot of hex debt now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I got a lot of hex debt.
Yeah, hell yeah. So anyone listening as well that wants to help Oliver out with his hex debt.
I'll take it if everyone's got a spare 70 grand.
Oh, okay. I was going to say $5, but yeah, 70 grand. I was more aiming for like 5 grand per person.
No, I just want one big rich donor.
Yeah. Oh, right. Well, if there's any of them listening, please hit me up too. No, wait, fuck. I edit this part out about Oliver.
Is there a Patreon in this?
There is actually. There's not a 70 grand tier yet, but I might work my way up to it.
Add that in.
Maybe it will.
Pay Coleman's hex debt.
We'll play all of our guests' hex debt. Yeah. That is a promise. By year end, I will have everybody's hex debt paid off. I just need to find like who's really famous and really rich.
Kate Blanchett.
Kate Blanchett,
have
if you're listening.
Her on the podcast yet?
No, she stopped returning my calls. Oh. But also because I think I may be calling Kate Blanchett.
Who's the most famous person you've tried to get on this podcast?
So this is a nice little embarrassing story for me. You like, Oliver, why have you put me on this spot? I've come in here to humiliate and embarrass my guests, not me. Fuck. I'll tell this story. So there is a film being filmed here. Oh, fuck. Last year, I want to say. I think it was called Sleeping Dogs, and it had Karen Gillan in it. Do you know her?
No.
Nebula from the Avengers movies, and she's Scottish. She's red-haired. She was in like Doctor Who and the Jumanji films and stuff like that. I thought the best way to get in touch with her to ask her to come on the podcast, just shoot her an Instagram DM.
Yeah, of course.
Funnily enough, didn't get a reply. Yeah, but I was like, oh, okay, maybe not. I'll tell you who else, though. Tommy Flanagan. He's also in Australia for it. He's from like Sons of Anarchy and a few other films.
Oh, yeah.
Tell you what, didn't get a DM reply either.
Can you see if it's seen? No,
I can. They didn't even look at it.
Yeah, right.
Which is fair enough because they have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers on Instagram. I don't know why I thought that would work.
Sometimes it does.
Does it? Do you have an example?
No, I think no, I don't. No. Not a personal one.
Okay,
but you do hear of it working.
I feel like that's the kind of person that's like, I was walking through the airport and somebody asked me if I wanted to model for Vogue kind of examples, though.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, maybe that 1 in a billion person or chance.
Or tweeting.
I don't have Twitter. That's a problem. Yeah, maybe I should get.
I think
Threads.
Twitter's better for approaching famous people.
Twitter scares me, to be honest with you. It is not a good place to be.
No, but it's run by such a nice man.
It's true, our Lord and Savior, Elon Musk.
Yes.
We are back on the Joe Rogan Experience. Thank you for joining us. Swiftly moving away from that topic again. Jesus, we're going to go down a rabbit hole. But yeah, I tried those people.
You got to.
I know, right? That's it as well. And then some other times I've reached out to people's agents and they're usually pretty good with it as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time they're just polite. I've reached out to this one other person who's quite famous in Scotland, but I don't think anywhere else. And they were like, they simply do not have time to talk to you. And I was like, I mean, I know what would have done, or like...
You should get Peter Mullen on.
Oh, yeah?
I love that actor.
Do you think I should shoot him a DM?
He was in a New Zealand TV show.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, Peter, if you're listening, expect a DM. Check your inbox. Check the requests folder.
Can just be me listing all the people.
What other actors do you like?
To.
And then I can try and get.
So
them
I think
on.
you should get Peter Mullen on.
Yep.
Beautiful voice. I liked the movies he's directed.
Yeah, no, great.
I'd love it if you got Philip Seymour Hoffman on. That one might be tough.
Okay, that one might be. I don't want to say unobtainable, but.
Yeah, never say never.
Wait until AI gets a little bit better with voice
and then
replication.
You can do it. Yeah. That's true. I wonder if, like, at one point, you won't even need to record with someone a podcast. You can just, like, capture their voice clip and kind of auto-generate a podcast conversation.
Have Philip Seymour Hoffman saying some real problematic things, but
That'll
then that gets the listens, and then that gets you
That's what you
snowballing, and then I'm going to be famous, and then
Yeah.
that's the only reason I do this podcast, is to be famous and maybe in a controversy. Yeah.
That's the only reason I'm here.
Yeah, cool. So what did you really think about... So we've got one living, one dead. Who else do you want to invite to your dinner party?
Peter Mullen, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and the do you remember that? Maybe you weren't living here, but there used to be an ad for Moccona instant coffee.
Okay,
and it's kind of problematic now.
I don't like where this is going.
No, not so that problematic. But they're in the aisle, and the woman picks up Moccona, and there's a man in the aisle, and he sees that she's picked up Moccona, and he kind of makes eyes at her, and then she goes, "Oh, he's black."
Oh, okay.
At the man, and she goes, "Yes, I want something a little bit more exotic." And then the man says in a funny accent, "Oh, like me from Swapshire." Because he's from Swapshire in English. She assumed that he was from
somewhere more exotic than Swapshire.
And I want you to interview that man who played that role in that ad.
You know what? It might be hard to find that person, but I
reckon that isn't achievable.
They're the most attainable. Yeah. So if anyone actually knows that advert first,
I reckon that's a pretty famous ad.
Oh, is it?
People won't know that.
If I just Google Moccona problematic.
Yeah.
I would like to get on the thing of ads. I'd like to get the Net man on sometime as well.
Yes, get the Net man on.
Because I don't know if you ever get this, but I get it quite a lot. Maybe because people think I'm Irish, and they're like, "Are you the Net man?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not."
I've heard his voice. I've just seen him on billboards.
Oh, really? Yeah, he's Irish.
Ah.
Yeah, or he does an Irish accent. I don't know.
Sure, you could pass
really
as the Net man if you grew a goatee.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I was like, I don't make anywhere near as much money as him, I'm sure.
I wonder if that's what he does in his day-to-day life. He shaves off the goatee and then he just grows it back for the ads.
I genuinely tried to Google him once, and he's really hard to find. He did one interview with I think he's from Perth or Adelaide or somewhere like that, and he did like an interview being like, "Yeah, I don't really act anymore. I just do this." And he gets paid an insane amount of money each year to keep doing it.
Yeah. What's he do with the rest of his life, I wonder?
I don't know. I mean, like any actor, probably work a regular job as well.
But he must make... How much would you make from that? Like 80, 100 grand a year?
Exactly, right? And then you got your live off that. And he's been around since I've been in Australia, I want to say. So, like, good, like, at very least 10 years.
Yeah.
So, like, he must be doing all right, right?
I'd just hang out.
Yeah, right? I would get that Chris Hemsworth body.
Yes.
You can afford all of the...
I would get so fat.
And then you get asked to take your top off for different reasons as well.
Then I'd look more like a character.
Exactly.
And then I'd get more ads.
And you can be a character actor. You can be one of maybe 3 character actors in Australia.
Exactly.
Which is everyone's dream, I think. Nobody wants to be a leading man. Everyone wants to be a character actor.
The leading men are boring, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. They're the ones that never get to have fun. Character actors get to chew up the scenery, and they're the ones that people recognise as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be a hunk.
No one wants
Not
to be
really.
Hunks are boring.
Hunks are gross.
No one wants to be a hunk, and no one wants to be just standard. Like
Nobody wants to be standard. That's very true. Fucking standard bullshit. I'll be that one guy that like walks into a scene and won't be recognisable because they're just like, it's just another middle-aged white guy.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll walk by, say one line to the main characters, and they're like, were you in that film? And I'm like, yeah, do you not see me? And they're like, I don't even really recognise you just now, and I'm sitting talking to you.
Yeah.
So it's a tough life for us white guys. That's all I'm saying.
It's a tough life.
We'll move on to stand-up comedy now, though.
Yes.
So I'd be... I mean, I've got my go-to questions, of course. I was wondering if you came in with any stories from the comedy scene. No. Have you always done it in Melbourne?
No, I more or less started in... I did a sketch show with my friend in the Melbourne Comedy Festival and then kind of did a solo show after
first
that.
one back in 2016 or something?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2016. And then after that, I'd done a couple of gigs in Australia. Like I did the Raw Comedy Competition and then did like
nice.
one or two. I mean, I just did it. I made it through one round. I didn't get to the final.
No, I think doing anything sometimes is better than a lot of people being like, I'm going to start this next week.
Oh, yeah.
Or just have insane people being like, I'm going to do stand-up comedy and sell out the Athenaeum. And I'm like, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
No, sir. No, you're not.
Yeah.
I had. Sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
I had an Uber driver once accost me with his stand-up comedy, and it was not a good Uber ride, and I genuinely kind of feel a bit sorry for him. But he did tell me he was going to go over to Edinburgh and sell out an entire Edinburgh run because Stephen K. Amos did it, and I think putting yourself on the pedestal of a man that's been working in that industry for about 30 years and then you being a newcomer and doing exactly the same thing is mental.
Man, I'm jealous of those people with that level of confidence.
Me too.
I reckon I could just... Because I'm okay.
Yeah.
But I reckon if I had my talent with that level of otherworldly confidence, man, I'd take over this goddamn world.
I feel like that's like... They're two ends of the spectrum, though, right? Like you're either that confident or you're talented. There's very little crossover with like the two combined.
Yeah, I think yeah. I mean, you have to be deluded regardless. I think.
Oh, for sure.
Keep going.
Yeah, because you have to have something wrong with you to want to be in the performance space.
Yes.
Obviously. That's why we're all here.
Yeah, it's so unlikely that you'll ever make a living from it. So
just make money from it, full stop.
Yeah, so just to keep doing it.
Yeah, but like that confidence would be nice every now and again. But then also, I don't want to be that guy that's getting spoken about in a podcast. And this was a good few years ago now. So I want to be that guy.
Stuck in your mind.
It's forever seared in there. He also told me he was going to become a millionaire from making one song on Spotify and just having it go viral.
That's good.
Yeah. No, this wasn't a fun...
They do have those Spotify... I think they're trying to crack down on it now, where it's like AI-generated songs, and then they've got a whole bunch of computers and stuff playing these songs that have been uploaded.
Well, this was before AI had really kicked off at all,
okay.
and I also don't think that's what he was talking about.
Yeah. Well, I'm all into get rich quick schemes.
Oh yeah, no, perfect. Well, if you've got any of those computers that want to play a certain podcast on repeat all the time,
oh yeah, that's true. We can cut a deal.
Know. Yeah.
You split the Patreon with me, next it.
That's 70 grand Patreon tier. Well. All we need is one person.
Yeah,
and I'll put it as a weekly sub.
Yes, please.
But yeah, sorry, with the comedy world, I always love to ask about, your classics, your bombs, your open mics. I don't know if we've done any corporates as well, but I'm always such a big fan of hearing about the corporates.
No, I've never done a corporate.
Yet.
I'm not really... Yeah, yet. Who knows? Maybe my material... Well, the only time I've done a closest to a corporate is I was doing Brisbane Comedy Festival. For some reason, they invited... One night, they invited everyone who'd bought a BMW Mini from a certain dealership. So I was playing to a crowd of people who'd bought a Mini for some reason.
a BMW Mini as well, which is...
What, is that who owns the Minis now? Just a Mini. Whatever a Mini
okay,
is.
okay, cool.
One of those Minis.
I think a Mini's just a Mini.
So it's a very small audience.
Oh, watch out. This guy's doing gear on the podcast.
Anyway.
How did that go?
I was expecting the worst.
Oh, really?
But they were actually lovely. It was a good show.
Oh, nice. I feel like from like your, I don't know, stereotypical car owners, many people aren't that bad. If it was BMW, it'd be like gross.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know.
But I mean, I guess if you buy a Mini,
Yeah.
they're not the cheapest car, but they do have like a certain level of comical impracticality.
You know
like
what
they're
you're
a silly
getting.
car.
Yeah. Especially if you're like, I don't know how tall you are. You must be over 6 foot because I'm 6 foot myself. So like if you're our height or more and you're getting in and out of a Mini, that's just funny.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you'd have to know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Especially buying a brand new one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just buying it because you're poor and it's $2,000.
Yeah, I've never done a corporate, but I have, comedy is one giant string of constant humiliations.
Do you get humiliated and embarrassed by it anymore, or is it just fucking par for the course? Just another day in the office now?
It certainly knocks you around less
Yeah.
as you go along the bad gigs.
Yeah. When you start out, did you really take them to heart a bit more?
I think so. Like, I mean, I reckon I did the Raw Comedy Competition. This is separate to the sketch show I did. And then maybe the third gig I did was like, just like because I'd only done the Raw show, which is to like a really like pleasant audience.
So that was the first one you did?
Yeah. And then the third one was just like a normal new material night in Melbourne where it was like in a crappy room to like 8 people or something, and for some reason I'd taken a friend along to watch because the Raw shows had gone well, and I just did like stuff and it didn't go well, and I kind of forgot where I was up to, and I bombed and kind of got off stage after 3 or 4 minutes, and I didn't do it again for like, I don't know, 4 or 6 months or something. Like,
wow.
It was at the same time as I was, the dog's here.
Is she going to break in again? Oh, she's lurking outside the door.
Yeah, and I didn't do it for like 4 or 6 months again. But at the same time, there she is.
There we go. Once again,
she came
broken
back
back
to the comedy
inside.
chat.
She wanted to come in and hear about all the awful comedy gigs you've done.
I've done so many.
Yay! Well, she can sit in here for the next 4 hours whilst we go through them all then.
Yeah, I brought a list of every time I bombed.
It's an old-timey parchment scroll and it's just rolled out the door when you have unfurled it.
Here are the top 1,000 bombs of Oliver Coleman. Yeah, but I mean, and so I didn't do it for like 3 or 4 months. But these days when I bomb...
it's the audience's fault rather than your fault now, is that what you're saying? They don't get it.
Well, I mean, it depends what it is.
That's
like,
very true, huh?
It's like, I mean, over the course of a comedy festival, whatever, you're doing 22, 23 shows, and I reckon 3 or 4 of those will be...
just a bit of a wet fart.
Yeah, a bit of a wet fart, like not as good as I'd like, and so you feel shit afterwards. But you've always got a show the next day.
Yeah, that's
so you're
true.
like, well, I'll just do that show the next day, and hopefully it'll be better and doesn't kind of...
And you don't finish on the worst show.
You hopefully don't finish on the worst show. Inevitably, the worst ones are usually the ones where your family or friends or something
of course.
come and you're like...
Reviewers.
Yeah. And
You're
so...
like, you put so much pressure on yourself and you're like, this needs to be a good show, and you're like, oh great, the lights didn't turn on for 10 minutes and somebody vomited in the crowd. Lots of stuff that's out of your control, but then also just does not add to a good show.
Yes, and audiences sometimes are just not as energetic or giving.
Yeah.
And that's like that becomes something to acknowledge as well.
Yeah, it's really weird, huh? How do you find it with like Melbourne audiences compared to like a lot of other places around Australia? Because I find Melbourne's quite reserved sometimes, like they can be a little bit held back.
Yeah, I think Melbourne are held back. I
Yeah.
think Melbourne audiences... maybe I'm comparing them more to the UK. I don't know what it's like in different cities in Australia. I think UK audiences and like Scotland, where I was living, there is like
a lot of them. Just
a lot of them are animals.
Yeah.
And there's this level of like a conflict or confrontation between the performer and the audience, maybe in the UK. But they are a more like expressive, kind of giving audience, I think, whereas Australia is, culturally kind of reserved and held back anyway. And I think they're inevitably like that in comedy as well.
Yeah, which isn't ideal because you just want raucous laughs and not silence.
No, but then maybe like America or something is too far the other direction.
Yeah, that terrifies me.
Just like too giving.
Too giving and like throwing a glass at you and stuff like that when they don't like a joke.
Yeah.
Maybe if we can find a happy medium.
Happy medium between would be delightful.
That'd be good. We should probably get onto any of your prepared stories if you did come with any of them as well.
I'm trying to think. I mean, there's a couple of times in like often it's like the things around the bomb which are like the worst things. Like I remember like when I was living in Scotland, one of the first times I had to travel for a gig, I was like traveling down to like the borders or something to some like little town to do some 2 nights of gigs in some like hotel, and the guy was putting us up in the hotel, and
this sounds
and like the first
rough.
The first night I like, it was just like a bunch of old men or whatever, and they were just like calling out, "I bombed." I just didn't get any laughs. And then like afterwards, the owner of the hotel comes up to me. He's like, "Oh, you're gonna do that again tomorrow night?"
Oh,
like,
fuck.
questioning the material, and like, so then I was stuck there with some like other comedians and had to spend the night there with them and like sleep in the same room. And it was like,
oh, you're sharing a room as well.
Yeah, sharing a room with this other comedian that was like, just so you know, man, when I sleep, I purr like a cat.
That's not a normal thing.
And he actually did the whole night throughout the when he was sleeping. He was like, it was horrible. And he pissed all over the floor, and so I got like, I went to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. I got all these piss all over my socks because he was drunk.
I was going to say, how do you manage that? That makes sense. Yeah. But also, I reckon if you know you're sharing a room with someone, maybe be on slightly better behaviour.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
Be nice.
Yeah. Don't piss on your roommate.
Don't piss on your roommate.
That's what they
the
want.
First rule of comedy.
Second one, don't purr at them whilst you're sleeping.
Please. Yes. So often it's like the stuff around that, I reckon. It's like I mean, the stuff getting on stage is like one thing.
Yeah. It's the travelling, which is, that can really catch you out, especially if you're away from home.
Yeah.
And you don't have your
escape.
Yeah, you don't have your creature comforts and stuff like that as well. And you're like, I've never done comedy myself, so I can only imagine having to stay with somebody who has paid you to come down and is paying you to stay there and then bombing in front of them. But like, just having to stay in weird little places, you're like, I've never been here before. I'm going to presume this person is not a serial killer, and I like trusting him to have an actual room, and I'm not just staying in like a bathtub or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm always low-key terrified whenever traveling for work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's beautiful, don't get me wrong. And then sometimes...
you don't know who you're going to be stuck with.
No, that's the problem as well, getting stuck with certain people. I was down, I won't say where, I travelled a little bit last year for shooting a film. And one of the places they put us up in had the basement, like, quarantined off. It had tape across the stairwell to go down into the basement because there was a really angry possum that lived in the basement.
Oh, wow. And
if you opened the door to the basement, the possum runs into the house and attacks people. And I was just like,
fair warning.
Yeah, like, and I was like, well, I mean, thank you for warning us, but also like, I don't think I'm going to sleep well now because like there's a demon in the basement, which I suppose is still better than piss, admittedly.
Yeah. The possum didn't come out and piss on you in the middle of the night.
Well, that I know of, but...
Sure, you do smell.
Yeah. I have not showered since then.
It's still on you.
It's warning to other possums, so... Not to piss on me again.
True. He'd marked his territory.
Yeah, that's also maybe why the dog wants to keep coming into the podcast studio as well.
He smells the piss on you.
Smells the piss on
Dude. me. You do get better, though, over time. Like, I mean, I remember doing, like, trial shows and that sort of thing in the lead up to festivals. And that is, like, just, it's hard because so much of your material isn't working yet.
Yeah.
But I think as you go along, you just get better at like the thing that I'm better at now is just having fun on stage, regardless of what's happening.
Fuck, everyone says that, huh? Like, it's when you, not that you've stopped caring, but you're not in your own head so much.
Yeah.
You enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
And people can see that, funnily enough, as well.
You can, yeah. And also, like, even if, like, I'm better now, like, even during festival time, if a show isn't as good as another night, like, previously I think I'd get, like, grumpy or whatever and
Yeah.
just try and say it as fast as possible and get off stage. Whereas now I
This
can...
hour-long show is now going to take 37 minutes.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, there would. But now I can just muck around with myself and have a better time with myself.
Which is nice as well, because then I think, again, like what we kind of mentioned earlier, like mental health can really take a fucking dive during some festival runs, especially with living in Melbourne and performing in Melbourne is great, but like if you're in Adelaide or Sydney or something like that and you're around everyone else that's doing really well with their good shows and you're doing a crap show.
Totally, yeah. I mean, the first time... I mean, sometimes a bad review can help. Like the first time I did a solo show in Adelaide Fringe would have been 2019 after I came back from...
Merry Old Scotland.
From Merry Old Scotland. I was doing my first show called Poolside. And that... I didn't really know many people in the comedy scene yet in Australia, and so I was there in Adelaide, kind of staying at my stepsister's house a long way out of town.
Oh, that's rough.
With this show, which wasn't good enough yet. I didn't know anyone, and I got like 1.5 stars in the Advertiser. Like
wow.
I looked at the list of reviews, and my show was like the worst review show of the Fringe.
That's, I mean, I always say this: give me 1 star or give me 5 stars. I don't want anything in between.
Yeah, it was a funny review. She was like, "I arrived 10 minutes late. Thank God he finished 10 minutes early."
Jesus Christ! Also, I don't mean like reviewers. I mean, who are you? Like, you can just be anyone and be a reviewer. Especially now if like somebody's got a blog and they're like, "I'm a reviewer," and you're like, are you? I don't really want to give you a free ticket.
Yeah.
But then you're like, turn up on time.
I know.
Like, you missed the first 10 minutes of my show. How can you properly review me?
Yeah,
and then put it out there as well.
But I mean, in a way, it kind of helped because then going into Melbourne, I just like, I just had less kind of cares. I was like, well, if I'll just have fun myself, and so I kind of worked on a lot, and then I was changing it a lot every night, and and it ended up being a really good show, and like it did really well at the Melbourne Comedy Festival.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
So it was like, I think that kind of. Sometimes a bad stuff like that.
Blessing in disguise.
It's a blessing in disguise. It can make you stop caring.
Did you use the 1.5 stars on the poster as well? Because I've seen a couple of people do that, and I'm like, you know what? I fucking respect that.
No, I wasn't brave enough to do that.
Okay.
But I think some other journalists like looked at the review and they like... I got another article in the lead up to Melbourne of someone being like, oh, hot new acts to see at Melbourne Comedy Festival. And they'd quoted parts of the terrible review as like an example of me being an actor. See, not really the bits we were critiquing, more just the bits of like, what it was about, the show.
Okay.
So I think some people saw it and were like, oh, well, this guy got a terrible review, but we'll give him a leg up now.
I mean, also, and again, like maybe not what you want, but like being the worst reviewed show of the Fringe and the Adelaide Fringe as well, which is like, I don't know, like I think this year they said it was like close to 800 or 900 shows there.
Yeah, it's a big festival.
Yeah, that's fucking impressive.
Something to be proud of, right?
Yeah, no, genuinely. And I was like, I would much rather watch that show than a 3.5 star show.
Yeah.
Because those things just drag on and they are painful to watch, but not for the fun reasons. That sounds mean.
Yeah.
But I want to watch a bad show over a mediocre show any day of the week.
Totally. And like sometimes like hard experiences. Like there was another show during that run where I think I had 2 audience members. They were just like 2 English backpackers who'd randomly rocked up to my show. And you'd expect that sort of thing to be awful. But like if you just approach it with like, you're like, fuck it. Well, all right, this is the show.
Yeah.
Then you're just positive and you're playful and you're in the moment. You just kind of chuck everything out. And
is that the smallest crowd you've ever performed for?
I think 2 is the smallest. I've done like 4 a couple of times. I know other people that have done it to like 1 person before.
I've heard that as well. I heard
I've never done 1.
But yeah, I couldn't imagine 1. I reckon 2, you're sharing in this. 1, you're just like, this is a little too intimate.
Yeah.
Especially, you'd be so pressured. If it was a comedy show especially, you'd be so pressured to laugh at every single joke.
I know. I think if I had 1 person in, I'd maybe just sit on a chair and chat for it.
Yeah. So what do you want to do?
It'd be more like this. Maybe I'd get some microphones, turn it into a podcast.
So do you like Joe Rogan as well? We'll start bringing the podcast towards a close there. Did you have any other prepared stories that you wanted to tell? Did we have any absolutely fucked stories?
Do I have any absolute fuck stories? One time a guy threatened to shoot me with a shotgun.
Okay, well, let's dive into that.
What was I doing? There used to be this at Monkey Barrel, which is in a club in Edinburgh.
Yeah, I know Monkey Barrel.
Run this like alternative comedy night that we do on like a Tuesday night. And for whatever reason, there was this guy was a very small crowd. Maybe there was like 12 people in the front in the crowd.
Not the smallest crowd you've had, though.
Not the small
there you
crowd,
go. Yeah.
And there was this big burly guy with like a shaved head and,
Okay.
and heaps of face tattoos and that
Okay.
sort of thing, with like a very young woman that he was kind of like groping throughout the whole night. And
What kind of age disparity are we talking here?
like 20, 30 years maybe.
Ooh, okay.
And then they would string in big jugs of like zombie
Fosters
or something.
Oh, wow. Even more hardcore. Right, okay. It's a good effort.
Cocktails, yeah. And I think I was pretending the whole night. He'd been like bantering and stuff with whoever was on stage, and I think I was doing
In
a
a
character
nice way?
in like a not in like a medium nice way.
Okay.
In like a way where it was like something could go wrong at any moment.
Okay, but he wasn't just sitting there shouting out like a slur.
No.
Okay.
But then I was pretending to be Lars von Trier, I think, on stage.
Really? Okay.
So I was talking to him.
Did he appreciate that nuance of that filmmaker?
I don't know if he understood the reference to
cool.
that filmmaker. And then I think I started talking about him as if he had like the beautiful eyes of a reindeer or something. And then I think he told me to fuck off.
Okay.
That he had a shotgun in his car and he'd take it out and shoot me.
Wow.
And then the woman that he was with goes, no, don't worry, he wouldn't do that. And then he was like, no, I will. And then at the interval, he was talking to another act up the back and was like, yeah, I've killed people. I'm a gangster. I think he was some sort of gangster.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean...
But he didn't kill me. So
No.
it worked
Maybe he
out
just
well.
didn't like Lars von Trier's work.
Maybe. I think that was it. I think
Maybe
that would be it. Yeah.
he was more of a fan of you, and he's like, no, I don't want to see Oliver Coleman do Lars von Trier. I want to see Oliver Coleman. Yeah. Lars von Trier's had his moment to shine. He's made some weird comments in the past. I don't like that. Yeah. But also, mildly fucking terrifying as well.
Yeah, it was a scary looking dude.
Yeah. But congrats on not getting shot, I suppose.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I didn't literally die.
Die a death on stage. We are getting accosted by the podcast dog again just now, so maybe we'll finish up. But thank you. Oh, God, she's knocking over the microphones.
Uh-oh.
She's causing all kinds of problems. Thank you so much again for coming on, Oliver.
Thank you so much for having me.
No,
Thank
my
you so
pleasure,
much.
mate. My pleasure.
Lovely to be with the podcast dog.
Well, she's more of a nuisance than anything else, but she's fucking adorable, right?
She's cute.
Yeah. And also, I apologise for you being covered in dog hair after this now as well.
I love it.
Where can people find you? What have you got coming up? You got anything you want to spruik?
They can find me at Oliver Coleman Comedy on Instagram if they like.
And Twitter? Have you got a Twitter? You were
I do. I think I'm
Twitter.
Oliver L. Coleman on Twitter, but I don't use. I should use them. I don't use it.
No, DM. Can you get in touch with Peter Mullen?
Yeah, I'll DM Peter Mullen for you. Yeah, they can find me in
Hoffman.
Philip Seymour Hoffman. Yeah. They can find me in Sydney. I'm doing shows at Sydney Comedy Festival next week from the 9th to the 12th of May. If people are around,
awesome. So I think this is
then.
coming out during that time. Yes, so I'll absolutely put that up.
And the Edinburgh Fringe as well in August.
Fuck yeah! Do you know your dates or just the full run?
I think I'm there for the full run. So whenever the full run is.
Good God! So if you see Oliver in Edinburgh, be kind to him.
Please. And I'll
go and
hang
watch
out
him
with your family.
Yeah, exactly. Don't bring your shotguns. But yeah, make sure there's more than 2 people as well.
Yeah,
want to sell out that shed.
I want either one person or a sellout at every show.
Yeah, and no in between.
No in between.
1 star or 5 stars from any reviewers as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I want a festival of extremes.
Yes. Well, I mean that's also Edinburgh Fringe as well.
Yeah, that's true.
The extremes of people being like, "I loved your show," to trying to hand out flyers in the Royal Mail and be like, "I'll fucking kill you if you hand me that." And I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
You could just say no, but thank you.
Yeah, it's a wild ride.
It really is. But I also hope you get a pizza crunch as well.
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll get a pizza crunch.
Please post that. Please do. And then the same as every week, you can find Won't Be Forgetting That pod across most of the social media platforms. You find myself, Seb Muirhead, Muirhead, on Instagram and YouTube. I got a little film coming out in the middle of the year, Oliver. So
what's it called?
It's called Ancestry Road. It's going to be in cinemas. The trailer's currently out just now, so I'll post that in the show link. So
you're acting in it.
I am acting in it. I'm the lead. I play a dad. It's set in Scotland.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So it's going to be in cinemas hopefully within the next few months. So I'll keep you posted about that.
I'll go watch that.
Thank you. You can tell me how Scottish I sounded it.
Do you sound more Scottish in the film?
I sound a wee bit more Scottish because I was trying to be more Scottish. Yeah. And then the chap that plays my dad is the most Scottish man in the world.
Which part of Scotland did you film in?
Tasmania. So you know that well-known part of Scotland.
Oh yeah, that's my favourite part of Scotland.
Yeah, no, we all love it.
Yeah.
much of the same down there as it is in Scotland.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And then the same as every week, if you can tell a friend about the podcast, if you can like it, subscribe, review it 5 stars, all that stuff. And then patreon.com/.
1 or 5 stars.
You know what? Rate it 5 stars, but then write 1 or 5 stars in the comments because I want to know. And then tell me salt and sauce or salt and vinegar as well, because they're the only 2 options: 1 or 5 stars, salt and sauce, salt and vinegar. And then patreon.com/what we're forgetting that pod
For $70,000 to pay my hex debt.
Yeah, please. I will. I promise. I will pass that
Yes.
on to Oliver.
Please.
But yes, thank you once again so much,
Thank you.
Oliver.